off in the aerodrome, a place called Gruyere, which is where my grandparents were always from visits yearly in the summers. Pretty cool because all the terrain is close to the T. Even all the houses that you see, even if they don't look identical, they're replicated to look just like the structures that are around. So the mountain you see over here, that big bulging mountain, is the Lorenzo. And it's a pretty cool place from what I remember. You can drive up the mountain road to the base of the mountain. There's restaurants and some apartment buildings and probably a hotel. Some cool summer activities. I'm sure wintertime too, because everyone goes here to ski. But I kind of remember switching to this kind of fun summer place. Swimming, hiking, whatever. The castle that you see over here is the Gruyere Castle, Château de Gruyere. It's a place that you can walk to from my grandparents' house, which is, on one of the hills right there. Fly over it, take off. The cool thing about this airport is the Gruyere Strip. I downloaded the extra details for it, so it pretty much looks identical to the gliders here, because it's a very popular activity to do in this area. Just glide your plane and float around the mountains and the valleys. But I like the detail here. It's pretty awesome. It's got just the main terminal, if you want to call it. The welcome sign, and there's even like an area, like a play area for kids and like picnic area. All that is really here in real life. Fun fact, this is so cool, because that farmhouse has always been there. It looks identical. A little fun fact here is, like, my grandfather lived in a house over in this direction. You can kind of see it right there when I'm pointing at. That's my grandparents. It was my grandparents' house. But all the land, like the grassland around the house, it was my grandfather's. He would tend to it, cut it, make hay out of it, feed his cows from the grass during the summer, store the hay for the winter. He was a cow farmer, and there was even a little strip of grass, which was basically part of the aerodrome. Like right here, this area you're looking at to the left of the runway was something that my grandfather had the rights to take care of the grass. He would just collect that and keep it for the cows. So pretty cool stuff. There's a river here, which is the Seine River, and kind of got the color right. But if you were to stand next to this river right here in real life, close up, it's pretty treacherous. It's got a lot of rapids. So we'll get the plane ready to take off soon. And this looks like it's kind of an evening flight, but that's fine. So we'll fly around the area, we'll take a look at stuff. It's pretty neat. And, we'll just kind of play it by ear. We'll go over to Geneva Lake and lakeside towns there. A couple of sites. Not even Geneva to land, but we can come back here. Does it matter? I'm not sure. Just make sure we're not. I think I need lots of flaps here. All right, so do it. Take off.
$500. $500. Stall.
Oh. Alright, so this town here. So I think it's the town of Really awesome. If you look at the hillside, you really get up here. Like, oftentimes my grandfather would get a call, to go pick up a calf or something, from another farmer somewhere in the area. So you take this like tiny little
500.
Jeep type of car that you have, and you go up some of these mountain roads to these like really isolated little cabins. You see them like scattered all over. It's just kind of amazing because if you put yourself there, it's basically like a dirt or rock road, and a lot of the chalets and the cabins, they just look like they've been untouched for hundreds of years. It's got a really cool feel to it. People have their sheep and cows grazing and other farm animals. It's just like kind of
500.
things. One of the things I really enjoy doing in this day and age is just taking pictures, doing a lot of amateur photography, the stuff that I get on my phone. Enjoy that.
500.
I've been thinking back about, if I only had like my iPhone that I have today, back when I was in surgery, some of the pictures that we were able to take. And then not just like the landscape and all the, I guess you can call them tourist attractions that you see a lot of people take when they go to Switzerland, when they go to Geneva or Lausanne, or if you go to the German part, Zurich. All cool, cities, really beautiful places, but just the intimacy of what I'd be able to capture if I had my phone back then. I just think it would be like unmatched to any of the pictures that I have today. Just like being able to take a picture of my family sitting down for lunch or breakfast in the summertime at the farmhouse. And even, I remember there was one occasion where a friend of mine
500.
had called and said he wanted to take us up to a friend of his who had a cabin up in one of these mountains, and we went up this isolated road in his Range Rover, and we went to this like stone and wood cabin of his where the adults, they just like drank wine and sat at the table and had cheese, and it was like the inside of that place was unbelievable. Like it looked like it was right out of the 14th century. Big pot slash kettle like over a fire inside, and everything was made out of like really old wood and stone. And it's like the people in there, it couldn't have been more Swiss. It was an awesome thing to see. So I only wish I had my
500.
picture of that. It's kind of amazing. Let's get an exterior view here. The valley that, where I was, it's kind of right down there. A lot of the valleys that are in between large mountains, you don't really see direct sunlight until sort of the middle part of the day, because the mountains are so damn tall. And obviously, areas like this, it gets a little bit more open, but it's still amazing. It's like there's miles and miles of farmland. It's just a really scenic place. Like I was saying, a lot of people go to Switzerland and they relate to it by skiing. It's what they think of when they go winter times, ski, snowboarding nowadays. But I always been partial to the summertime feel. Everything is green. You can go to some of the lakes and swim. A lot of people don't have swimming pools at all in Switzerland, so if you don't want to go to the lake, there's a lot of public pools. It's something that you can do during the summer. It's not something that I really want to do these days. But just like a lot of other things in Switzerland, it's generally not to sound like a Swiss supremacist, but let's go by the facts. But yeah, here, big lake you see over here is Lake Geneva. And down to the right a little bit, towards the tip of that lake that way, you're going to find Geneva, which is the biggest city. Really, I guess you could call Lausanne a city. It's more of a town. Geneva is one of the bigger, it's still not big. on this side. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to identify Lausanne from its placement because there's like, a few towns by the water. They're all really nice. But we'll definitely fly by the town of Montfort, which is awesome. There's a really famous Fairmont Hotel there on the lake, which is like something you can see out of a James Bond. Just really fancy, 5-star place. And there's also my favorite castle in Switzerland is by the lake. It's called Castle of Chinon, or the Chateau of Chinon. It's kind of a funny name because the verb chier in French is to shit, and Chateau de Chinon is kind of hilarious. It's almost like something at Monty Python, the castle of shitting, the shitting castle. But anyway, it is one of my favorite castles. It's got some of the coolest history. It's built like right on the lake, so it's connected to the land by a little bit of a bridge, but the majority of it is kind of like a boat since there's lake water around it, and a very cool place to go visit. There's like, like there are in many castles, a little museum in there. You go in there and they have tapestries and a lot of medieval armor and weaponry, and it also kind of shows the evolution of like weapons and armor. And then you can go down to the dungeon where the prisoners are kept, and it's kind of amazing because all over the columns and all over the walls are names that the prisoners had carved in under the castle. Most famously, Lord Byron was captured and kept in prison here for a while at the castle. I can actually see it all over here, so we're getting a little bit lower. Yeah, Lord Byron, he has his name inscribed into one of the pillars. Let's see, it just says L. Byron. Now, directly across the lake, you see these big mountains here. That's actually France. So, you see Switzerland, we're in Switzerland now, there's Switzerland to the left and to the right. Right in front of us, there's a little bit of France. And if you've ever seen, drank the water called Evian water, that's from this region of France. And the mountains that you see right here in front of us are actually on the bottom. So that's a fact there. Gotta check my airspeed because I'm going pretty slow. I'm trying to get a scenic view, but so yeah, this kind of what you kind of call bustling for this area, town, is the town of Montfort. What I'll do is I'll cut my airspeed completely. Just kind of slip down here. Too fast. There's a lot of altitude. Yeah, so this is a nice place to live. I wouldn't mind living in a Swiss town or a city. It's all kind of cool. But especially if you've got tons of money. But I kind of really see myself if I were to move back to the countryside. I mean, a lot of it looks like countryside. Obviously, like just kind of quiet lifestyle. But in general, Switzerland is a really quiet place. Like I said, it's clean. It's really safe. It's very quiet to the point where a lot of the gripe that people have with Switzerland, not only in neighboring countries in Europe, but also when you travel from around the world, you say that the Swiss are really uptight. It's true. They're just kind of not really the most social. They like to keep things really kind of tidy, organized, and quiet is a big thing. But for example, there's like a lot of curfew in Switzerland. Not that you can't go out, but there's like a noise curfew. And after like 9:30 or 10 p.m., you really expect it to be quiet. So if you live in the city, even or
500.
you can't be playing loud music or making a lot of noises and yelling. Another thing in terms of traveling to Switzerland, if you have a family with young kids, it's not exactly a kid-friendly place. Meaning, it's nice if your kids want to kind of enjoy nature and walk around and see different animals and, like I said, do a lot of outdoor stuff. It's great. But a lot of nicer restaurants don't allow kids
500.
So I remember occasionally during the summer, get in the car and drive from Gruyere, we just came from, get on one of the highways here, and we drive into this valley that I'm pointing towards. And we would
500.
Houses that you see. The shore line and the hillsides next to the shore, rather, riddled with vineyards. If you're there in person, you kind of look at it and you go, wow, look at all these vineyards, which you kind of usually associate with like France or and you know, I wasn't a big wine drinker when I was there, mostly as a kid, but when I looked into it later, Switzerland, apparently they grow like something like 95% of their wine just for the country of Switzerland itself. None of it is for the export.
500.
They take a lot of pride in. It's apparently a really good wine. A lot of it is white, I believe, white wine. But it's apparently it's a very, very good wine, but it's just something that Switzerland likes to keep closed in just for themselves. Though Switzerland does make things that they export, obviously, Swiss watches, Swiss chocolate, Swiss cheese, and not just the Swiss cheese, but the holes in it that you find in the United States, all kinds of good cheeses. But for the wine, that's not really something that they export. We like to keep that, and other things is kind of Swiss only. So again, reserved and uptight, if you want to call it that. So, around this hill. Look around. That was a really cool experience being, I remember being a really, really young kid here because, for example, my mom whenever we were in the United States, it was always like, I guess what we could call a helicopter parent, not in the sense that she would let us go to friends' houses or anything, but when it came to like playing outside or playing with toy guns or anything like that, it was always like, don't go outside, somebody will kidnap you. If you go outside with a toy gun, the cops will shoot you, it's dangerous, there's crime, people get murdered here. Anytime we were in Switzerland, it was like, all right, come back from here, leave the house, go on your bicycle, take a walk, either alone or with your brother. You had no worries at all. Even during the summer, we would rent these little Yamaha like motocross bikes, these dirt bikes. There was a local motocross race person, excuse me. Like I don't know what you call it, like a guy who races motocross bikes, and he would rent out some of his bikes to people. So as kids, my brother and I would get those rented for a few weeks during the summer, and we would just zoom across this countryside, and it was just one of the coolest things ever. Got many, many raspberries on my elbows and knees from that, but fun times. Funny story about that. I was riding the motocross bike once, and I was really just kind of looking at my brother was catching up to me. We were trying to compete how fast we're going, and at one point I started zooming ahead like much faster than my brother. And by that time, we got really used to them. So I'm looking back at him and riding through a field, and I'm just like waving with one hand. And my brother is signaling, like he's pointing forward, but I don't know that he was trying to tell me something. I thought he was just waving back or something. And I just continued looking at him, not even turning around, my head tilted back, just kind of waving. And I see him just kind of point, like urgently. And as I whip my head back around straight ahead, my neck caught one of my grandfather's electric wires for his cows. Thin metal wire. Now, it wasn't on, and even if it was, the amount of electricity that would go through it wasn't really debilitating. It was just enough to kind of deter the cows. But what could have really happened was this thin little metal wire could have cut my fucking head right off. Excuse my language, but man, like, kind of unbelievable that my head didn't fly off that day, because I just remember it catching me right on the neck. It's like at that perfect level, and it flung me back. My motorcycle kept going, and my helmet just ripped my helmet off of my head. I mean, how lucky was that? Falls, when I think about it, but that's what builds character. He's almost dying by electric light. If I had been decapitated at that point, I'll bet you that was the first time a kid of that age had been decapitated since probably like 14, 12. And then 14, 12, and before that, it probably happened all the time. Probably get decapitated for stealing money. So what I've got to do is find the airstrip, which should be, oh, okay, I see. Yeah, so I always remember there's a tree line over there, which kind of runs along the Seine River. And going a little fast, so you might have to just use a little airspeed, but that won't take long. So I'm good here. Flaps all the way down. Yeah, so the airstrip, I can see it right now. It's just cut grass. So just kind of follow the river on the right side of it. Perfect. Kind of going at the perfect airspeed right now.
500.
Wasn't sure if my lights were on. Little turbulence. Don't know what that was about. Maybe a little updraft, whatever they call it. But updraft, downdraft, draft, light draft. Little floaty. Okay, maybe somewhere safe. Well, hope you enjoyed the little tour of this part of Switzerland.